guys, welcome back to another episode of Chad Fixes All. In this episode, we're going to continue working on the Honda Civic head replacement. In the last episode, we removed the alternator as well as that engine bracket. We also removed the whole entire head with intake assembly from the engine, and finally got out that pesky crankshaft bolt. Now we're going to go ahead and continue on with the crankshaft harmonic balancer pulley. What we're going to do is just going to pull that away from there, retaining the key. You do not want to lose this key, it's pretty small, so try to be careful with pulling it out. Next we can go ahead and remove the timing belt cover, removing those two screws and pulling it up out of the engine bay. Here's a better look at the timing belt cover out of the car. Next, we're going to remove the bolt that holds in the crankshaft position sensor. Now you want to just remove the bolt and not remove the harness from the crankshaft position sensor. I read somewhere that disconnecting it could cause issues when restarting. I just played it safe, just remove the bolt and let the crankshaft position sensor hang off to the side. Next, we can go ahead and pull out the timing belt that we cut in the last episode. Now with the head out, we can get a better look of the cylinder head along with the intake. What I want to do is I want to remove the intake from the head, and I had a heck of a time doing this. You can see here, there's this one bolt on the bottom that's just rusted, so I went ahead and took a chisel to it, and with a little bit of force, we finally were able to bust through that bolt and split it and take it out. That then allowed me to free up the intake from the head, and there's a better view of the bolt, but was able to let me free up the intake from the head and was able to pull it away. Now let's take a look at the parts that we're going to go ahead and reinstall. You can see in the back we have a cylinder head gasket set, also a radiator to the back left, timing belt to the right, the two serpentine belts in the front, new thermostat, new oil filter, we have the water pump right there, we also have new head bolts, and we have some anti-seize. Now you can see us starting to put in some of the parts that we just showed. That's the in gasket. Also, we're going to remove the EGR valve and replace that gasket. Also going to change out the thermostat while we're in here. And then also throw a new O-ring on to that coolant pipe. So here's that bolt that we ended up needing to take out and fix because the chisel hit it a little bit too much. We also took the time to clean up the cylinder head, top, bottom, sides, got everything off there and made it a nice mating surface. Now we're going to go ahead and grab a new bolt and thread that into the cylinder head so that way we can replace it. Check the depth, looks good. We also threw some Loctite on it so that way it would stay in there nice and well. Now we're just checking for straightness, make sure that the head is not warped. It laid flat. A feeler gauge would have been a better choice, but we're just kind of eyeballing it here. We also are going to do that on the engine block as well, since this is aluminum. And just checking, it looks pretty good. So since the head's off, it's a little bit easier now to get to the oil filter. So I'm just going to remove the oil filter right now and install the new one. Make sure you throw a little bit of oil around that seal to make sure it has a nice mating surface and also make it easier coming off the next time. Now, since we're in here, we're just going to change the water pump as well. If you're ever doing the head job on any of the Civics or really any car that it's a timing belt driven water pump, just do it at the same time. It's worth it. You'll appreciate yourself in the long run. So we're just going to undo the 4 bolts that hold it in. Then we can remove it, apply the new O-ring, and we're just going to reinstall it. It's a very straightforward process. Next, we can go ahead and open up the head gasket. This is a new head gasket that we got within our kit. And I'm just going to go ahead and place on there, make sure that it's going to fit, be the right one. This is a 3-ply gasket, so just the same as the OEM. And now we're just going to go ahead and replace this onto the engine block. Now we can go ahead and take our cylinder head. It's a little bit easier this time since the intake's not attached to it, thank goodness. But the hard part is just getting it lined up. You have those dowels that you have to get into the engine block from the head, so it's nice because it helps you align it. Here are the torque specs for the cylinder head. Also has the sequence as well and the steps that we need to actually perform. Now what I'm going to do is first take each one of the cylinder head bolts and I'm going to dip each one of them in new oil. Hand thread each one of them down into the engine block. And then I just wrote this down on a piece of cardboard real quick, but here's the sequence and also the torque specs for each pass. So now I'm just going to go ahead and use my gun, tighten them all the way down, just so they're mating, and then we're going ahead and use our torque wrench to do each one of the torque specs. This is the first pass. Now we're going to go ahead and do the second pass. And then now we're on to our third. Next, we're going to remove the spring tensioner from the tensioner pulley for the timing belt. And then we're going to just take our hand and we're going to go ahead and move the tensioner away so that way it adds more slack. Now we can go ahead and take our timing belt and put it onto the engine. I'm not going to show you the exact timing marks on this. If you need help with the exact timing marks and everything like that, there are tons of videos all over YouTube, how-tos. Just go watch one of those. There's probably really good ones out there and teach you a lot. But then we just went ahead and tightened up the tensioner and we rotated it over. Everything seems to be good, nothing's hitting, so I feel safe with our timing marks. We can go ahead and reinstall the crankshaft position sensor. And then reinstall the timing belt cover. Tighten up the bolts that we took loose. Reinstall the engine mount bracket. And put on the top timing belt cover. Next, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the air intake. We went ahead and did the top bolts. We'll do the bottom bolt from the bottom. Now reinstall the exhaust manifold. We'll put the nuts on later. Now we're going to reinstall this top bracket. With that bracket installed, now you can go ahead and put the alternator back in the vehicle and bolt that up. Reinstall the harmonic balancer. Make sure you have that keyway in, and then tighten down the bolt. Next, we're going to go ahead and take that fuel rail and lay it over top and reinstall that. So now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the valve cover on top of the engine, and that's pretty much going to conclude this episode. So if you really like what you're seeing here, just make sure you put a subscribe on my channel, like the video, check out my past episodes if you haven't watched those yet. With you subscribed, you'll be able to get all the future episodes as well. And also check out my other videos. I have a ton out there on a lot of different cars and a lot of different topics. But yeah, until then, I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.